Today, we will be discussing the process of breaking down and planning with user stories. Let's dive into how to effectively use user stories for software development. Welcome to another lecture from the Programming Professor. Our presentation today focuses on 4 key areas. First, we will explore the art of user story decomposition. Then, we will master techniques for estimating user stories. Next, we will learn how to build an effective product backlog. Finally, we will wrap up with strategies for creating successful release plans. This comprehensive approach will help you manage and execute projects with user stories. User stories are often misunderstood. Many believe the written story is the most critical part, but that's not true. The reality is that user stories are conversation starters. As Jeff Patton puts it, user stories get their name from how they are supposed to be used, not what you are trying to write down. If you are not getting together to have rich discussions about your stories, then you are not really using stories. Conversations around stories bring clarity and align team members on goals and expectations. Breaking down user stories effectively requires adhering to the INVEST principles. User stories should be independent, meaning they do not rely on others to be implemented. They should be negotiable, leaving room for discussions and changes. Each story must provide value to users and be estimable so the team can gauge the effort required. Stories should also be small enough to complete within a sprint and testable to ensure their successful implementation. These principles help create manageable and valuable stories. Let's compare good and bad user stories. A good example is, the user can pay for items. This is clear, shows user value, and defines a specific goal. A bad example is, the user may enter their name. It's vague, lacks user value, and does not clearly define a purpose. Good stories prioritize what the user achieves, while bad ones often focus on irrelevant or unclear details. Every user story includes 2 key components: the card and acceptance tests. The card provides a brief summary of the user's action, its expected value, and basic functionality. Acceptance tests detail alternative ways to accomplish the action, possible failure scenarios, and success criteria. Together, these components ensure the story is actionable, testable, and user-focused. When writing user stories, avoid overloading them with technical details or excessive UI specifics. For example, instead of saying, user can select via drop-down menu, use, user can choose a show to watch. The latter focuses on the user's goal and leaves implementation details to the development team. This keeps the story flexible and focused on value delivery. Here's an example of breaking down a payment story. An initial story might read, the customer can pay for items in their order. While this captures the general idea, it's too broad. Breaking it down results in smaller stories like, the customer can pay using PayPal, and the customer can pay using credit cards. Acceptance tests ensure these stories are complete, covering scenarios like valid and invalid payment details, and ensuring checkout is not possible with an empty cart. Story points represent units of work time and help teams estimate effort. Teams define their own point scale. For student projects, days of work is a practical unit, especially when accounting for part-time availability. Using story points helps teams gauge workload and pace themselves effectively. Good estimation practices are essential for project success. Estimation should be flexible to new information, quick to perform, and work for both large and small tasks. It also enables progress tracking and supports release planning. While precision is not critical, consistent and collaborative estimation ensures teams remain aligned on expectations. One effective group estimation method is planning poker. The process begins with the team gathering and reviewing story cards. Each member privately estimates the story's complexity, and then the team shares their estimates simultaneously. Differences in estimates spark discussions to clarify understanding. Afterward, the team re-estimates if necessary and records the consensus. It is critical that everyone shows their estimate simultaneously to avoid bias. The product backlog serves as a prioritized list of user stories for the project. It includes all potential features, even if not all will be implemented due to budget or time constraints. Prioritizing these features follows the Moscow method. Must-haves are critical features, should-haves are important but not essential, could-haves are optional, and will-not-haves are reserved for future releases. Release planning revolves around delivering the minimum viable product, or MVP. This involves determining release frequency and identifying key features for the MVP. Teams must also consider risk factors, including technical challenges, stakeholder priorities, and dependencies between stories. Proper release planning ensures the product delivers value incrementally. Planning velocity involves calculating total story points and estimating points per sprint. For student teams, velocity may be lower due to part-time availability and academic schedules. Start by focusing on must-have features. As the team progresses, they can add should-have features based on their remaining capacity. In summary, user stories are powerful tools for facilitating rich team discussions. Break stories down based on value. Use group estimation methods like planning poker, and prioritize the backlog with the Moscow framework. Plan releases around the MVP, and adjust plans based on the team's velocity. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more lessons on computer programming and technology. See you next time.